First of all, can I ask you, what knowledge do you have of this building?
Well, a certain amount, not as much as goes back from the architecture of the building, which there is strong evidence of a 17th century features within it. But from a documentary point of view, we've got evidence of a building on this site, at least I would say 1773. There's an early large-scale map of the Wiltshire, the county of Wiltshire, and there's shown a block of buildings on this site. It's shown on the 1808 enclosure wall in more detail, and then in the 1842 tithe map. At that time, the owners and occupiers were John and Henry Withers, a victualler and a maltster, and from the 1820s we know that they were running a pub called the Oak. So we've got evidence of the building being a pub called the Oak from the 1820s and going right on through into the mid-20th century, well, late 20th century in fact.
We've got a glove factory, we've got a brewery. Now, I've been told that there are bits and pieces of this building, there's evidence that it goes back to Tudor times. What would it have been in Tudor times? Would it have been a coaching inn, or what would it have been?
Well, we've no evidence that it was a pub before the early 19th century. I mean, it could quite easily have been a house, you know, not a public house, but we don't know that. But on the other hand, pubs, typically pubs that do have quite a long established history. Once you have, it's not a case of once a pub, always a pub. Can I just say one other thing though? The realisation of the importance or significance of this building has come rather late in the sort of the planning programme, so to speak, for this site. But once it's realised and appreciated that this building has a long history as a building from at least the 17th century, but certainly right up into modern times as a public house and a brewery, latterly also with a glove factory incorporated into it. So it must have some sort of resonance with older Westbury people knowing about the building, and they've got some link, I would imagine, with it, some affection for it, some connection with it. Whereas what's proposed to be happening is a supermarket coming in, building a steel-framed warehouse that may be here for 20 years at the utmost, whereas this building has been here for possibly 300 years or more. If we were unsuccessful, the building was scat down and nothing was preserved in terms of the memories of people about the building or an architectural survey of the site, that would be a tragedy. We must preserve something, preferably the building, if not the building, a record of its site and the history of it, and the reminiscences and recollections of Westbury people who were associated with it. When we, in 2000, a group of us produced a millennium history of Westbury, and I was responsible for the streetscapes, the brief thumbnail notes about the various interesting buildings within Westbury. And I wrote in that the Oak Inn had 17th century origins. I found it in some printed source, but couldn't remember or was able to find it again. But I mean, that was actually written down and published in the year 2000. And that didn't seem to have been taken notice of in the run-up to the planning application.
So what was the name of the book, Steve?
The story, I've forgotten, it's called the Westbury Millennium Book, the Westbury 2000. It was a book produced for the millennium.
Do you still have copies of that?
Oh yes, it's available, yes.
Okay, and do you sell those, or where is it available from?
Well, it was available through the Wessex Books shop, but I think, and it went to a reprint, but I'm not sure where it's available now. But it's in Westbury Library, its copies are available in the library.
What's going on? What's going on?
It's coming down.
When's it coming down?
Yeah,
Oh, right. They're actually starting to pull it down. What this guy's been instructed to.
Yes, and you taking that down? He said, yeah, we're trying to. I said, I don't know. He said, why? Have you any objection? Yeah. He said, I don't know anything about it.
Oh God, yeah. I used to know the guy and Derek who used to own it.
Who was the landlord?
Derek Green.
Derek Green. Because I'm trying to put a local history together of people that know a little bit about the pub, you know.
Well, Derek showed me, because we are really good friends with Guy and Derek. And both my wife and I have this thing that he showed us. A document that said that there was certainly a place that provided alcohol on James II's time.
James II.
Yeah, and I can't remember now. Awful, but I can't remember my history as to when.
You don't need any.
They got the.
part of the History Society?
I'm the chairman of the Westbury Heritage Society.
Right.
I'm sure what you're saying is correct. Many of those beams look to me to be really ancient and certainly very much structural rather than ephemeral or just mere boarding or whatever. Right. Some of those beams are classically ancient beams.
Right.
And
so if we're going to try and rebuild this hall from the 14th century, maybe 15th century, these are the
crucial bits.
These are the crucial bits.
And without them, you're not going to build anything.
Yeah.
It seems to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're very crucial.
Sorry. So, about a year ago, you History Society opposed this.
A year ago, last May, which gets us about 18 months ago, as a society, we wrote to the county, expressing our concern about what might happen to this building in view of the fact that Oldie had their planning permission updated, renewed for the supermarket, and that clearly involved the demolition of the old oak in order to provide them with some car parking facility and in order to widen the road, which I think is a questionable issue as well. And so we wrote to the county expressing our view. We got a reply. The reply was that the county had already agreed to the site being developed, and implicit in that agreement was the demolition. That agreement had already been done, it was already done and dusted as far as they were concerned, and they weren't prepared to budge. And we do have copies of this correspondence. It is available. Yeah.
Well,
so really, if anybody wanted to ask us the question, well, why have you left it to the last minute? The answer is we didn't. We moved 18 months ago, and we were given the push off, basically.